Hi, I'm Alicia, and welcome to my Operational Innovations channel, where I focus on process tips, techniques, and strategies that help you level up in the area of project management, product ownership, and small business operations. Today's topic, from the Small Business Health Check. This is from my list of my top 10 tips for small business operators. The number one tip: know your numbers. So in addition to my videos on this, I'm also bringing you other perspectives through interviews. So I am so excited today to welcome and introduce Leslie Zirker. She's coming to us live from Denver, Colorado. She's my bookkeeper. And so we'll hear all of Leslie's great wisdom over audio today. Leslie, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm excited to join you today.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell me a little bit about your business, Leslie.
You bet. So I provide small businesses with accurate and up-to-date accounting. So I do this either on a daily or a weekly or a monthly basis, depending on the company's needs. I help them to reconcile all their accounts and provide the owners with accurate financials to help the business owners make educated financial decisions. Small business owners, you have a lot to do. And if they are wise, they will hire someone to help them with their accounting needs. Time is money. And so I help with accurate accounting so the business owners have time to build their businesses. One of my largest clients is a nonprofit here in Denver that provides coaching for free to daycare and preschools here in the Denver area. And because of a grant, I get to go into these schools and I help them organize or troubleshoot or even start from scratch with their accounting needs. It brings me great joy to see them be self-sufficient when I'm done with them. It's exciting.
That is so great. I have to tell you, a couple of things I want to double click on here from what you said. This idea of making educated decisions. We can't do that if we don't have our numbers together and if we don't have them straight. So it's so important. In my video top 10 series, when I talk about know your numbers, I make a reference to Shark Tank, how everybody gets shredded when they can't talk about their numbers. And so this is really important. It's really important.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the point that you made about it being wise to hire someone to do it, I have to tell you, the first couple times around for me as an entrepreneur, I did it because I could, and it just really didn't, it just wasn't right for me. I mean, that wasn't my forte. I did it, but I mean, I learned some things. I learned a lot actually, but when I met you the third time around, it was a game changer. It took so much stress out of that part of my business. I cannot tell you. I think it added years to my life, literally. And time is money.
It is. And that's something that you've unfortunately had to learn the hard way too.
I did. I totally had to learn it the hard way. And I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. So tell me, how long have you been in business?
So I graduated from college and became a mom right away. And after our third kid, we decided we needed some extra income. So I tried to find something to work from home in my field of accounting. I took on one client and then joined up with a small business accounting firm, again, working from home. It was great. I learned a lot from that owner. However, she sold her firm and I became my own boss back in 2016, and I have really enjoyed the flexibility.
Yeah, that's great. And you really have your own entrepreneur story about how you went from working for somebody else and you went out on your own. I mean, 4 years being in business, that's nothing to sneeze at. I'm in my fifth year. This is my fifth year as an entrepreneur working for myself, and I know what it takes. So, and you've got 5 kids. So, I mean, you've got 5 kids and a spouse, and you're just really having your own story there about being an entrepreneur. And so you really understand what it takes. And so I imagine that, so tell me, what type of businesses? You mentioned the daycare, you mentioned the nonprofit. What other types of businesses do you work with?
I work with small businesses. So most of my clients are between 1 and 10 employees. So they don't have the extra cash or need to hire somebody full time. They're really small.
Yeah.
So I work with lawyers, a brewer, asset managers, a cleaner, online sales. I have a couple online sales clients and consultants. So really a wide variety of small businesses who have chosen to outsource their accounting.
Yeah. Yeah. So from brewers to asset managers to accountants to lawyers, you see all kinds of different industries and you see all kinds of different practices. So I imagine that there are a few things that bubble up for you. What are the top 3 mistakes that you see these small businesses make around bookkeeping and knowing your numbers?
You bet. So when I take on a new client or I go into a new small business, the first thing that I see is they haven't done anything at all in the past. So not doing anything and just watching what that cash number is in their bank account and then trying to make decisions off of that number, that has been challenging. So not doing anything at all is the first thing I see. There are a lot of small software systems, simple software systems that you can use to track your accounting. So find something that works for you and do it. Creating a profit and loss statement is needed for a small business owner. It's important to have that when your taxes come around, when it's time to file your taxes. And as we've seen recently, if you need to get a loan, you need to have a profit and loss statement in order to send to your banker. And it becomes really stressful and difficult to try to create that profit and loss statement quickly. So having that system in place and having something to do on a regular basis will help you out in those times that you need.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is, if you do have a software system, forgetting to reconcile. You are inputting in your transactions every month, but you haven't taken the time to reconcile. If you're creating a profit and loss statement and you haven't reconciled, you don't know if those numbers are accurate. Once you have reconciled, you know those numbers are accurate and you can make educated decisions based on those, that profit and loss net income. Maybe you have inadvertently put in a deposit twice, or maybe entered in an expense twice, and those are going to skew those net income numbers. So having reconciliation as part of your monthly to-do list is a good thing.
Yeah.
And then the last one is, some of these companies have taken a time to create a budget, but they're not using it. So if you're going to spend the time thinking about how much money you're coming in and how much money you're spending, take the time each month to review your budget. Are you on point for the rest of the year? Are there things that you need to adjust, whether they're with part of your income or part of your expenses? Taking the time to review that will help you in the future, 4 or 5 months from now, instead of maybe forgetting about a big purchase you have coming up in the next couple of months that you forgot to plan for.
Yeah.
So taking the time to review your budget will also help when tax time comes around time too, having that plan.
Yeah.
So good business owners will use their budget to help them make their educated financial decisions.
So I'm hearing a reoccurring theme here about educated decisions and really being tied to knowing your numbers. So those actually almost sounded like 3 great tips. This idea of doing something, reconciling, and then having a budget. Having the budget actually lines up with my number 6 tip in my top 10 tips series, where I talk about plan your income. So it's kind of that same idea of budgeting and planning your income. What other tips do you have for our viewers, Leslie?
You bet. There's a couple of the things that I've seen as I've worked with businesses that haven't done anything in the past. When we start to work with them, I've noticed that their eating out is really high. If you have a problem or are trying to work through your cash, if you have some cash flow issues, really start to look at and seeing where you're spending your money on. And one of those has been eating out. They just want to help their staff members. They want to, really provide as kind of a perk. Hey, here's a coffee, or hey, here's lunch for today. And they don't realize how much money they're spending on their eating out.
Yeah.
So maybe just a small thing, take that extra cash that would help, and maybe adding it into your marketing budget, or adding it into maybe a new software system that can help ease things for you.
Yeah.
And make it more of a special treat. And maybe your staff would appreciate it more.
Yeah.
And then also bank fees. Again, if you're having issues with your cash flow, really kind of try to see if you are having non-sufficient fund fees or even ATM cash fees. Those fees kind of add up a lot. So if you're struggling with your cash, plan for your cash, plan to go the extra mile to go to your own bank. And those fees you'll kind of see maybe fall off as you're planning your cash more. And within that, paying everything at once. Maybe again, you are having issues with your cash flow. Maybe you can spread out that those utility payments or insurance payments throughout the month. So you don't have everything coming out the same week. It
Yeah.
might help with that cash flow. And then the last thing I can think of is being self-employed takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So really having a plan and a time management plan so it doesn't consume your whole life. So those are just a few extra little tips from me.
That's great. I appreciate that. And, a couple of these things, the top two tips that are really around cash flow and just knowing where your money is going. And, when we're not looking at that on a regular basis, it's easy for it to be not top of mind. I know for you coming in and reconciling my books every month and giving me the P&L and giving me the balance sheet, it really helps me keep an eye on those numbers. And I actually point that out in my video. I'm looking directly at my QuickBook dashboard, and it just right there, I've got the numbers right there in front of me. But it does take some work to get there, and I know that having someone like yourself can be so helpful with that. And then having a cash flow plan, and then really time management. As far as top tips from Leslie Zirker, who's my bookkeeper, on the subject of bookkeeping. So thank you for your time, Leslie. That's our interview today, folks. This is about the number one topic: know your numbers. So what resonated with you? What tips do you have? You might share your inputs, share your insights about tools and tips that you use in the areas of know your numbers. Share those down in the comments because we can all use a little bit of help. We're all in this together. So thank you for watching. Thank you, Leslie, for joining us. I appreciate you spending your time and sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah. So please stay tuned for more interviews, more tips on this topic, and the rest of my top 10 tips series. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.